Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Chaline Nivasesha Sanyavari Pashtatara Satanine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, let's dive into Sankara Kaumudi and see what jewels we can find. So page 357, begin at the top there.
From the top. Yeah.
If I'm
Let
correct.
us now study briefly the various influences that affect a devotee's sankalpa. Determination for devotional service is directed and influenced by many factors, including spiritual maturity, taste, and strength, as well as the kind of devotee's association one receives and seeks out. And a devotee may express his determination in different ways and for different reasons, such as to advance in Krishna consciousness, to attain a certain service, to see the Lord, to fulfill some material desire, to go back to Godhead, to increase his taste for service, to rectify an offense, out of curiosity to witness the power of bhakti, or to perform his prescribed duty. But of all kinds of sankalpa, best are those which aim at pleasing the spiritual master and Krishna, and which seek empowerment to give Krishna consciousness to others. We shall now give brief examples of these kinds of determination. Krishna's description of a sadhaka's determination to progress is found in this previously quoted verse. A person is said to be elevated in yoga when, having renounced all material desires, he neither acts for sense gratification nor engages in fruitive activities. Lord Brahma is an example of a devotee who is determined for service to the Lord. He recreated the universe almost 40,000 times in order to give opportunities to conditioned souls to return to Godhead. This is what Maitreya Muni calls Amoga Sankalpa, unfailing determination.
Yeah, that means
Dhruva Maharaj was convinced that
that's at the
only
end of
the
each
Lord
of. So that's at the end of each day. Then there's a partial annihilation. So every night, and then every day, then again he creates. So that's why it's 40,000 times. Okay, go on. You can carry on. Just make that note.
Dhruva Maharaj was convinced that only the Lord could fulfill his material desires. He set his heart on the throne of the universe and so underwent extraordinarily difficult austerities to purchase the Lord's favor. But when he achieved fulfillment of his vow, Prapya Sankalpa, he became ashamed at having troubled the Lord for a childish fancy. As he was being blessed by Narayan, Dhruva prayed, "O my Lord, to attain opulence exceeding that of the Creator, I performed severe austerities, as a result of which I have now attained you, who are very difficult for great demigods, saintly persons, and the kings to attain. Like a fool, I was searching for a piece of broken glass, but by the mercy of my spiritual master, I found instead an inestimably valuable touchstone. Having attained such a perfection, I am now fully satisfied. Desire any other benediction from you. Please forgive my folly." Srimati Aditi resolved that she should regain the heavenly kingdom for her descendants. To accomplish this material motive, Satya Sankalpa, Aditi accepted the demanding regulations of the Payovrata as taught by her husband, Kashyapa Muni. In commenting on Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur encourages devotees to be determined to revive their taste for devotional service and to go back to Godhead by taking inspiration for their resolve from books such as Srila Jiva Goswami's Sankalpa Kalpavriksha, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, Sri Govinda Leelamrita, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Sri Krishna Bhavamrita, and Sankalpa Kalpadruma, and Sri Bhakti Vinod Thakur, Sri Gauranga Smarana Mangala. Rectifying offenses aids a devotee's determination to attain steadiness, as exemplified by Junior Haridas when he conclusively decided Sankalpa Karila to atone for this misconduct by drowning himself at Prayag. That's why he thought he could redeem himself before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometimes curiosity for a certain facet of Krishna consciousness leads a devotee to the resolute for an attainment. This was seen when Lord Shiva was curious to see the form of Mohini Murti and remained adamant despite the Lord's warning that he would become bewildered. He was. Lord Krishna personally showed how a devotee should remain determined in performing his duty, Satya Sankalpa, when he concluded that his mission has been accomplished. Krishna left this world along with his family members. As already mentioned, of all determinations for service in Krishna consciousness, the most praiseworthy and approved are those intended to please Guru and Krishna. And the Sankalpa that satisfies the Lord and his representative is benefiting conditioned souls with pure devotion. Srila Prabhupada is the perfect example of a devotee who had resolute determination to fulfill the order of his spiritual master by taking the holy name of Krishna to every corner of the world. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the example of a devotee who, for the spiritual welfare of a conditioned souls, gave up the comforts of family life and accept sannyas. In the words of Karabhajana Muni, O Mahapurusha, I worship your lotus feet. You gave up the association of the goddess of fortune and all her opulence, which is most difficult to renounce and is hankered after by even the great demigods. Being the most faithful follower of the path of religion, you thus left for the forest in obedience to a Brahmana's curse. Out of sheer mercifulness, you chased after the fallen conditioned souls who are always in pursuit of the false enjoyment of illusion and at the same time engaged in searching at your own desired object, Lord Shyamasundara. In the practice and perfection of Krishna consciousness, a devotee expresses his resolve over a spectrum of aspirations. Similarly, underlying resolve for bhakti is as diverse as devotees themselves. In other words, there are many kinds of sankalpas to fuel a devotee's quest for the lotus feet of Krishna. Indeed, scriptures inspire determination in the readers by speaking of the successful outcome of vows pronounced by devotees in times past. Thus, the histories of great devotees, sankalpas, become the seed for other devotees' resolve. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would hear the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj over and over again, thinking in his ecstasy. If Dhruva could attain Krishna by his determination, then I may also be so fortunate. We conclude the summary of the first four parts of Sankalpa Kaumudi by reminding readers that all kinds of determinations in bhakti fall into one of five categories. As there are five kinds of devotional service in Raga Bhakti relating to a devotee's aspired for a mood of perfection, there are also five kinds of sankalpas defined by how they serve the attainment of bhava. There are bhavyamaya sankalpas, determinations that are saturated with the desire for ecstatic devotion, bhava. Bhava samadhi sankalpas, vows related to bhava, such as making a sankalpa to do nama sankirtana. Bhava anukula sankalpas, vows favorable for the attainment of ecstasy, like circumambulating Tulsi Devi. Bhava aviruddha sankalpas, vows that are neither favorable nor harmful to bhava, such as the worship of cows. Bhava viruddha sankalpas, vows that are counterproductive to the attainment of bhava, such as meditating on service to the queens of Dwarka. Our summary concludes by repeating these five sankalpas in order to emphasize that all vows in devotion are not equal. A devotee uses discrimination when committing to a service and judge well whether it serves the goal of Brajaprema, and if so, in that what way and to what degree.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mother. I thought I'll let that go because there's only just a couple of pages, so we thought we finished this chapter and officially ending part 4. This is just a summary. So we're hearing different determinations. Very nice example given. The first one was example of Lord Brahma. Yep. He was determined. He had a desire to create, and he was determined. There's a wonderful chapter in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord Brahma's prayers for creative energy. It's one of my favorite chapters. So he was very much alive and very much focused, and he had specific desire. He wasn't just vague. He wasn't just existing in a vague way and not sure. No, he actually wanted to create. That was his purpose. So that's Lord Brahma. And then, of course, a famous one that's always given of someone who is very determined. And that's, who's that? Who's mentioned?
Dhruv Maharaj.
Dhruva Maharaj, yes. And he's the one generally that we always cite in regards to his staunch determination. So much so that he was blessed with darshan of the Lord after 6 months or so. Such was his determination. And also we heard about Srimati Aditi. She wanted the heavenly kingdom for her descendants. I think there happened to be the demons, I think. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she did, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam. She did the Prayavrata given to her by her husband, I think. And Indra made a bit of a mess of it as a whole pastime. Yeah, he foiled the attempt, but she had got purified by that time. This is a wonderful example of Kashyapa Muni, who actually engaged her in a devotional process of a worship. She became purified. It's a wonderful story. And then we're hearing about, also we heard about, to revive a taste for going back to Godhead. So then Maharaj is giving reference to different books that describe Godhead, that describes the details of the spiritual world. And it's there in Srimad Bhagavatam, but more details are given in these books here. I'm not familiar with this one. It's Sankalpa, Kalpavriksha, interesting. I should look that book up. Govinda Lilamrita, I think we know. This is Asti Kalya Smalanam book, and so is the Krishna Bhavanamrita, Krishna's different activities throughout the day, and Gauranga Smarana Mangala. This is, I think my Guru Maharaj has included this in his latest small book, which is, again, the pastimes of Krishna. So to obtain Krishna, we have to hear about him, spiritual world. And then Junior Haridas Thakur, we also heard about. Interesting determination to atone for his misconduct. That's a whole story in of itself. And then Lord Shiva is also given. He had a sankalpa, a curious sankalpa to see the form of Mohini Murti. Yes. Any questions on this? Then Prabhupada's quoted as well. And the best of determinations is for sharing Krishna consciousness with others. If we can pray in that direction and pray for that type of determination, to have the ability and the purity to attract people and guide people in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Any questions or comments?
I'd like to try and understand the Bhava Sankalpa.
Yeah.
That question came up before. I was just looking at it as you said those words.
I was reading it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're familiar with this. This was brought up before.
Yes.
So these examples, Maharaj has taken these examples. It's used in conjunction, or it's used in connection with devotees, or with devotees who are on the level of bhav or are aspiring for bhava bhakti. Yeah, so there's certain things they do and certain things they won't do. Yeah, but Maharaj is here, he's quoting these different sankalpas, or these different names, bhava mayi, bhava sambandhi, in relation to the general determinations that we have spoken about. So not necessarily for those at the level of bhava, but for anyone in Krishna consciousness. But the first one is exactly that, bhava maya. Yeah, determinations that are saturated with a desire for ecstatic devotion. Yeah. So that might not be a specific desire for devotees who are just beginning Krishna consciousness. They may desire to chant 16 rounds and to follow the regulative principles. Perhaps the desire for ecstatic devotion might not be there in a mature way. Then the other one is Bhava Sambandhi. So Sambandhi means to link, Sambandha or Sambandhi.
Hmm.
Yeah, so here, so desire is related to Bhava in a sense, to make in a sankalpa to do Nam Sankirtan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's one devotee, what's his name now? He's made a vow to do 3 hours Harinam every day for the rest of his life, I think. And he does it wherever he goes. Krishna Kripa Prabhu. Everyone knows Krishna Kripa Prabhu?
Yes.
The darkness showing up, yeah. So wherever he goes, he always goes out and Harinam 3 hours a day, and he travels all over the world. So sometimes he goes to a temple where there's only 1 or 2 devotees. and he takes them out in Sankirtan for 3 hours. And he's got a great taste for the holy name. I mean, that type of vow is sure going to take him back to Godhead. So he's made that determination. Yeah. I mentioned I'm a bit guilty of having vows. That's why reading and studying this is going to help me to maintain vows I have. One time I made a determination to make someone fortunate every day by going out on Oxford Street and distributing a book. At least one book. So this was a few years ago. It was great when I was doing it, but I couldn't maintain it. Or I didn't. So that's so that will help. See, this will assist us. These type of Krishna, these type of determinations and vows, this is what pleases Krishna and the spiritual master. And this is one of the ingredients for actually making advancement, is that we stick to our specific determinations. The next one is vows favorable, anukul, for the attainment of bhava. Yeah. So circulating tulsi, definitely favorable. Aviruddha, that means vows that are neither favorable, they're kind of neutral, favorable or not. So, for instance, such as worshipping cows. Okay, if you don't do it, it's not going to be an impediment in your spiritual life. If you do it, it's not exactly an ingredient. It may not be a vital part of achieving ecstatic devotion. Worship of cows. Okay, and then bhava, viruddha, sankalpa. So vows that are counterproductive to the attainment of bhava, such as meditating on news of the world. We hear Queens of Dwarka, yeah, but we're meditating upon who's going to be the next president. Here, meditating on the Queens of Dwarka. So that means you devotee wants to attain Vrindavan, they're not going to take that up as a daily sadhana.
No.
All right, did that help? I don't know, a little bit.
Yes. Well.
Yeah, just summarize that. Those 5 points, 3, 4, 5, summarized the whole chapter. Has been given different examples of these, or the whole part, this whole part 4. All right. Yes, good.
I was just thinking this sambandhi. So it means like you're building a relationship with the Lord by developing your Nam Sankirtan, like developing your chanting.
Yeah, vows related to bhava, such as making sankalpa to do Nam Sankirtan. Yeah, actually, these vows that we make, these are determinations. You're actually having a conversation with Krishna.
Yeah.
It's your personal resolve to a Krishna. to the Lord, you know.
Even the next one, the one with circumvent Tulsi Devi, because the whole Tulsi Devi prayer is really, it's really high level.
Yeah, make a resident of Vrindavan.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is where you're going for bhav,
Yeah. It's nice to remember that when we're singing our prayers to Tulsi. Yes. All right.
Okay.
All right, let's turn the page and chapter 20, the importance of Abhidheya-Jnana. All right. So Abhidheya means Sambandha.
Process.
Yeah, the process. Sambandha, knowledge of the elements. And then Abhidheya is the process. So we'll hear more about the process of Krishna consciousness. Okay, Mother Chandravali, you have your hand, or you, for reading, you can go ahead and read.
Okay, does anybody else wanted to read?
Quite a long chapter.
Okay.
I can read after you if you want, if no one else.
Okay.
Go on, you go first.
Chapter 20, the importance of abhidheya-jnana. The fulfillment of determination is dependent on a practitioner's clarity of directions in sadhana. Obviously, a devotee must know where he is going in Krishna consciousness. Sadhana bhakti is the path that begins at bhajan kriya and concludes at the pinnacle of ashakti. And abhidheya-jnana is the compass that directs him between those two extremes, ideally in a straight line. We have spoken repeatedly and at length of the importance of Sambandha-Gyan, knowledge of the relationship between Krishna, his energy, and the living entity. The essence of that knowledge is to know without doubt that one is an eternal servant of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada defines abhidya in the following way: to act according to that relationship. And Krishna says to Brahma, approaching me for devotional service is called abhidya. To summarize, abhidya-jnana is knowledge of how to conduct oneself as a servant of Krishna and follow the path that leads to him. At this stage of their journey through Sankalpa Kumari, our readers have undoubtedly recognized that the path leading to Krishna is made of many steps and that each step requires a determination. The conclusion then is that to make these steps and their commitments, sankalpas, requires a clear vision only abhidheya-jnana can give. Since part 5 completes our elaboration of devotional sankalpas, it is imperative that an overview of abhidheya-jnana is present herewith. We begin that overview with a synopsis of the Vedas' general conception of abhidheya and then revert to the Gaudiya perspective, which is knowledge that guides sadhakas to Vraj Bhakti. Vedic literature prescribes sadhanas that correspond to the goals that its followers seek. The emphasis the Vedas give to both sadhana and their goal varies in proportion to the interest shown in them. In other words, since most people aspire after temporary goals, the Vedas deal mainly with topics relating to the three modes of material nature. Krishna says, Trai Gunya Vishaya Veda. The Vedas deal mainly with the subject of the three modes of material nature. The Lord adds that of these transient attainments, wealth and sense gratification are what the majority of people are interested in. Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification, opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. Sanatana Goswami further clarifies the relative emphasis that the Vedas give to varying objects of life. He concludes that scriptures teach mostly about economic development, somewhat less about sense gratification, still less about religiosity, even less about liberation, and at the least about devotional service. For sense enjoyment, who desires wealth and pleasure, the Vedas recommend a variety of sadhanas based on regulating the activities of the body, mind, and speech. For the more religiously minded, there are more limited practices based around charity, pilgrimage, good conduct, and austerity. For a few intelligent souls aspiring for liberation, there are even lesser means of perfection, such as Astanga Yoga. And finally, for those fortunate souls desirous of the least known or followed goals of pure devotion, the only prescription is the ninefold process of sadhana bhakti, beginning with chanting and hearing.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this? Interesting the way that Maharaj describes it. If you want sense gratification, there's plenty there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the Vedas are directing you to a high level of sense gratification, even to elevation to heavenly realms, etc., if you're really serious about it. But interesting then how he speaks about then it, for actually those who are desiring Krishna consciousness, then only one prescription or 9. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarada Parasevanam Achanam Bandhanam Dasyam Sakam Atmanivedanam. Yeah. So any questions or comments on this couple of pages? Just see where we left off. Okay, I can read on a little bit. Hare Krishna. The realm of devotion also offers different goals, among which Raj Bhakti is the most exalted and consequently requires the most exacting sadhana. Yeah, that's what Maharaj is coming to. Most exalted and the most exacting sadhana. And then even in Raj Bhakti, every devotee does not attain the same degree of success. Having attained perfection, some devotees may be able to see Krishna, but not his pastimes. All right, this is devotees who enter into the realm of Raj. Remember we mentioned before, Raj, there's Vrindavan, there's a whole society there of different villages and villages all surrounding the area of Vrindavan where Krishna is. So some of them will have access to having darshan of Krishna. And here we're hearing his pastimes, some may not. Interesting. Having attained perfection, some devotees may be able to see Krishna, but not his pastimes. So they might not see Ras Leela, they might not see his other childhood pastimes with Mother Yasoda, etc. Let me read this again. Yeah. Having attained perfection, some devotees may be able to see Krishna, but not his pastimes. Those more advanced may occasionally see certain pastimes, but not all of them. Then other devotees may observe every pastime and yet not be free to participate in them. Anyone can think of an example of that? Someone in Goloka who they can see all the pastimes, but they're not free to participate in them.
Is that the birds?
Yeah, I was thinking of that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they're yeah.
The trees, the birds, the rabbits, the insects, the animals. Yeah. Or even maybe the elder mothers there with child in their arms, they can't go out they really would like to join Krishna, when he goes out.
Are the two Arjuna trees, they were observing all the pastimes while they were going on.
Yeah, but they wasn't able to participate because there was a tree. So that's a good example. The two Arjuna trees, they could see all Krishna's childhood pastimes. Interesting where the eyes are on a tree. I guess they're special trees, but they couldn't actually take part in them. Yeah, so very interesting. Yeah.
So this is going to be where one is situated.
Yeah, so this very depends on a different attraction and different mood that we develop. And yeah, we be placed in a certain area. If we reach perfection, may have some ways to go. But then, as I said, in Vrindavan, they're not all cowherd boys directly playing with Krishna. Not all cowherd girls directly dancing with Krishna. There's a lot of, there's one book that describes, I think it's by Rupa Goswami, and he lists all the different, like there's residents in Vrindavan, and their service is to make furniture. Others is to grow the flowers, not to make the garlands. Others is making gold ornaments for Krishna. And they may never directly see Krishna, but they're somewhere in one village, which is near somewhere, and they're making gold bracelets for Krishna or for Radharani, like that. And then we hear also in Krishna book how sometimes fruit sellers come along. You know that well story there, where she's selling fruit and Krishna comes in his charming way. He takes some grains, isn't it? And he's got small baby hands. I know what it's like, because when I give out Mahaprasad on the altar during Janmashtami, when a small baby comes, whatever you put in their hand falls off. They're not able to. So what I do is I put it in their hand, and I close their hand around it. I close their fingers, and even then it falls out. So that's what Krishna was like when he picked up these grains and came plodding along, and it charmed this fruit seller so much that she even though he had, by the time he got to her, there was probably only a few grains left in her hand. Then what did she do? She gave him all the fruits. She was so charmed by his beauty. And then what did Krishna do?
Give her all the jewels.
Filled it up with jewels. So that must, because if she's selling fruits, obviously she's selling fruits, so she's obviously not a very well-to-do person. But all of a sudden now she's got a basket full of jewels. So anyway, so these different devotees. So this fruit selling fruit, then she wouldn't be seeing Krishna's pastimes every day. Yes.
Yeah, I was then thinking that would they have desire to be in Krishna's pastime? They would see, say, they're in different villages, so they might see Krishna passing or this and that.
Well,
they might hear about his pastimes. Would they desire to want to be in it, or they would be happy the way they live?
Well, but before I answer that, I just came to mind. There's another group of devotees who very much desire to be constantly with Krishna, but Krishna told them, no, it's not possible. Who's that? Anyone?
The Brahmins' wives.
Yeah, the Brahmins' wives. Because it's very interesting in that example is very interesting, because just like the gopis, then they wanted to be with Krishna. So like these are ladies, and they wanted to be with Krishna, but Krishna said, no, it wouldn't be right. Does anyone know why it wouldn't be right for them?
They had their duties to the Brahmanas?
They were Brahmanis, and it's not good for a Brahmani to spend time in a forest with another man. You know, so like none of the gopis are Brahmanis. They're all from a lower, I could say, don't want to say the word in a derogatory way, but they're Vaishyas. But they're Brahmanis, so it wouldn't look good. It wouldn't look good on Krishna. It wouldn't look good on them as well. Anyway, so they're devotees who knew of the pastimes. So some of these devotees will hear of these pastimes, and they will, and they will very much, because they just want Krishna to be happy. So they will very much appreciate these pastimes. But because of where they're situated in society, they might not have the specific desire to actually take part. But they're very, very happy to hear about Krishna and how he's acted in this way and how he's acting in that way. Like, for instance, when Krishna kills the different demons, and then when they come home at night, then all the stories are related. Krishna did this, Krishna did that. Then the elderly women, they will hear that. And because they're ladies, then, they may, they're not particularly going to desire to go out and wrestle with the demons with Krishna. You understand? Because that's not in their nature, but they're so happy to hear about it. I'm not happy in one sense. It will bring, I'm sure, even hearing about it will bring different emotions, because they have a Vatsalya bhav in relationship to Krishna. So even hearing about the size of the demons, all of them will become fearful. That the gopis sometimes, when they hear about the different demons that Krishna kills, they become very concerned. They don't even like to hear about the size of these demons for the thought of the demons injuring Krishna. So you understand, Robert Chandravani? Just so it depends on their specific stahi bhav, then that desire may not be, they're not going to desire exactly to steal butter along with Krishna and his friends, They might be,
Yeah, I was connecting it to like Vrindavan here, how people bring garland and flowers, and
that's a good, and
connecting with that,
and they don't put the garlands on.
They don't even think about making garlands. To them, there's a job that they bring the flowers,
So in Vrindavan it's the same, but everyone loves Krishna. Everyone hears about Krishna. He's the object of their affection and love. Everyone. So those are making garlands, those are bringing fruits, those are also the stonemasons there. Those are making seats out of stone and making houses and dressing, making the dresses for Krishna. Krishna gets new dress every day. Those who are growing the vegetables, like it's one in this book by Rupa Goswami, he actually says the names of the devotees who grow the vegetables. It's actually someone's service is to cultivate and grow the vegetables for Krishna.
Yeah, I was just thinking again, another thing was like in the morning when the gopis are cooking and things like, and the servants are doing this, that, what other things. They wouldn't think about like, oh, can I cook something for Krishna? See, so they're happy with their own services. Like
that's a very good point. Yeah, like someone's service will be putting the wood in the fire.
Yes.
That's someone's service. So they're just happy to see that, for instance, Radharani's cooking.
Yes.
And they will, they'll be very happy, and that will fill their heart completely just to see that. Just to see the mood that Radharani is in. I was just reading about that today, actually, about the mood, about the scene of Radharani's cooking. And Rati Manjari is always there. She's always there with Radharani. So she's a good example that she never ever desires to be a gopi. She always wants to be just a servant of Radharani, Manjari. Yeah, her life is Radharani. Her whole existence is serving Radharani. So I think she assists in the cooking a little bit.
But isn't she cooking with Mother Rohini?
Yeah, there's a few there's a few gopis cooking there. They've got different cooking points, different cooking stations. And Radharani goes around all of them. and tests all the chaunces and everything like that, and stirs 2 pots at once, you know. And actually, Rati Manjari's job is always to speak about Krishna to Radharani. She always creates a nice atmosphere and starts saying nice poetry. Because actually, I was just reading today that Radharani, she's very, it's to cook for Krishna, she doesn't feel herself qualified to cook for Krishna. And she wonders whether Krishna will accept it or not. This is her humility. It's such a wonderful service to cook for Krishna, but doesn't think she's qualified. So Rati Manjari, you know, speaks to her in such a sweet way that, you know, that Krishna won't eat unless you cook. So she becomes very much happy. And so like that, it all creates, all these different, because you can imagine if it's not possible, it's not practical, if everyone is a gopi. What type of village is that going to be? There's no elders, there's no fathers, there's no young babies, there's no cows, there's nothing. Everyone's just a gopi. It's not going to, what type of experience is that going to be? And I think even if I remember rightly, so going off a tangent here, Madhavendra Puri, in his prayers, he doesn't pray directly to be a gopi because of this point, because of the rich tapestry of Vrindavan. It works with all different rasas. He appreciates the gopis very much as being the most exalted, but he doesn't specifically desire to be a gopi. And this kind of highlights, because I think his example highlights this point that it's not just gopis in Vrindavan. There's a whole different types of devotees, all at different Stahi Bhavas, all different relationships with Krishna. I think it's mentioned there in regards to Madhavendra Puri.
So then what kind of Mahabhav he's got then?
I think he's a Kalpavriksha tree.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a desire fulfilling tree in the spiritual world, if I remember. Yeah, Kalpavriksha. So, but these trees are not. They're conscious and they get to see Krishna's pastimes as well, but they don't take part in them. But they may take part. They may give shade, in that sense. They may give fruits for when they get tired and they have refreshments. Then the trees provide everything that they want. You know. Yeah. So now we can understand. Let's just read this again. So now we can understand what this paragraph means when we describe. And then even in Raj Bhakti, every devotee does not attain the same degree of success. Having attained perfection, some devotees may be able to see Krishna, but not his pastimes. Those more advanced may occasionally see certain pastimes, but not all of them. Then other devotees may observe every pastime and yet not be free to participate in them. As do those who attain the highest perfection, as not to participate in them, as those who attain the highest perfection of playing with Krishna in absolute freedom. All right? And yet it is this pinnacle of perfection, playing with Krishna in absolute freedom, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to teach the world, and to which Srila Prabhupada directed his followers. Okay, so having understood all of that, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is coming to give something pretty exalted, even in the realm of perfection. Yeah. Quote, this Krishna conscious movement is for approaching Radha Krishna, to be associated with the Supreme Lord in his sublime pleasure dance. That is the aim of Krishna consciousness. All right, so we're being directed there to Gopi Bhava, which is the highest. Correct, let's read on. And while this process is relatively simple, hearing about Krishna and chanting his names, the application is not so easy. Unquote. To make the process and its application crystal clear, Srila Prabhupada translated books and extensively elaborated upon them in lectures and conversations. We'll go over a couple of minutes here because we started a little bit late today. Long ago, Narada Muni emphasized the challenge that lay before a devotee who possesses such a lofty aspiration. In advising Gopakumar, the sage explained that the boy's quest was difficult because of its exacting sadhana. Indeed, so elusive was the practice that even Narada's mercy would not be of much help in bringing it to fruition. Now, that is something. So, we need more than Narada Muni's mercy. We need the Gopi's mercy, Radharani's mercy, for that, achieve that perfection which Lord Chaitanya is giving. Of course, Narada Muni's mercy is definitely going to help along the way. We could definitely do with it. Anyway, and let's just finish this one paragraph. To make one's sadhana for Raj Bhakti successful, a very rarely bestowed mercy of Krishna and of his associates is required. Our good fortune is that as Krishna himself, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, descended to this world along with his associates to bestow that special mercy on those willing to accept it. Since Gopakumar's journey took place in antiquity, before Mahaprabhu's time, he did not have access to Gauranga's mercy, but we do. And that good fortune is expressed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in the following way. Let's read the translation. Let me take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, who has descended in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to teach us real knowledge in the form of his devotional service and detachment from whatever does not foster Krishna consciousness. He has appeared on earth because he is an ocean of transcendental mercy, and I therefore surrender unto his lotus feet. Hare Krishna. So now we're beginning to get, well, some of us already we understand, but the significance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's gift. He's coming to give this Ujjvala Rasha. And that will be elaborated on more as we go through Sankalpa Kaumudi. Okay. Any final questions or comments?
With your guest, he didn't at all participate in our class.
That's okay. They're absorbed in hearing, I can see. That's okay. And we're hearing nicely. If there's any questions, it's okay. If not. So everyone's poised to achieve the highest pinnacle in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I'm still thinking about that, that they're all there and they don't desire to be in the Ras dance or something like that. And,
Yeah, but they're completely satisfied in their particular rasa. Like in their particular Stahi Bhav.
Yeah.
I even heard a pastime, perhaps I should get this confirmed, that one time, if anyone knows of this, that one time Mother Yasoda happened to come across the rasa dance. She saw Krishna dancing with all and it was such a scene. It was such a wonder and such a scene. It was such a magical and, as you can imagine, a theatrical and such a charming and such a wonderful scene that she thought she was seeing some type of illusion. She didn't register it as being actually seeing it. She didn't register it as being real. She thought some vision had happened, some type of dream at night where she saw Krishna dancing with millions of girls.
Yeah, that could be like when she looked in his mouth and so the whole...
Yeah, same thing, yeah.
So then Yogamaya would change the whole situation,
Yeah, yeah.
So maybe he did see it, but then it's completely changed.
Yeah. All right. Let's pause there for today then. And tomorrow, so thank you for joining us, everyone. And tomorrow we continue with our Bhagavad Gita
Haribol.
introduction.
Thank you.
Okay.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for
Thank
joining us. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Holy Prabhu ki jai.
I press the end button now. Hare Krishna. I'm going to end the meeting for always. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.